Greetings, vinyl community. I hope everyone is doing well. This is the day before I'm going to take off on another adventure. That's supposed to be an airplane. In my head, that was an airplane taking off, and it sounded like a bomb dropping. But I assure you that was an airplane. Me and my wife are taking off on another adventure tomorrow to see a concert and do some record shopping, and I'm sure you'll see a video for that coming up. It's a really quick trip, but you know what? At least I'm going somewhere. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm happy to say it's Grail time. Grail time, Grail time. I should really have a theme song for Grail time. Grail time sounds like it should be a kids' TV show, shouldn't it? Grail time. Where kids hunt rare records around the world that only I like. But yes, we have a Grail to show you today that's very meaningful to me. And you know what, we'll get to that in 1 second, but once again, cheers everyone. I've had a few days off work. Very excited about that. It's been very relaxing. And my lovely wife bought me the Daniel Craig collection, all four Bond movies featuring Daniel Craig. I know it's not vinyl related, but it's a slice of life between us. And anyways, I binge watched all of them, and I've seen them all before, but I haven't seen them in a long time. But man, Daniel Craig, it's not popular to say anything other than Sean Connery, but Daniel Craig, best Bond, hands down. You can hate me in the comments section, but which one? I didn't care for Skyfall a whole lot, but apart from that, even Spectre was a little bit but overall, probably 4 of my favorite James Bond films. And yes, I am a James Bond junkie. So, in fact, some of my earlier videos, I think you can see me wearing a 007 hat. So, yes, I'm a James Bond fanatic. But anyways, my wife will never see this, but I need to thank her for getting me these. It was the most relaxing couple days I've had in a long time. So, this is very cheap. $10 for all 4 Bond films. Love it. Anyways, don't hate me for liking Daniel Craig. He's awesome. Anyways, once again, before we get to the vinyl, you know what, before we get to full-length vinyl finds, let's get to some singles. Some people have commented that they wish I would show more of the single finds that I talk about, yet I don't show anyone. So you know what, we'll quickly blow through these. I found, these are all thrift store finds for the most part. I think they're all thrift store finds. Yes, they are. I found 2 Kate Bush singles, and I'm not even going to pronounce this one. But you know, if you know, and you know, here's the funny thing. In Canada, I'm not sure if it's the same. I'm not sure if it's the same now, but it's mandatory to study French between like grade 1 or grade 2. I can't remember what it was back in the dark ages when I went to school. But I remember it was mandatory from grade like 1 to grade 9, so you had like 9 years of French, and that's all. I can understand a hockey game in French because when I was young, you had to watch the hockey games on our French CBC channel if you wanted an extra hockey game. So I can understand the flow-by-flow of a commentary in French, which is all beside the point. And I'm feeling embarrassed now because anything other than that, it's out the window after 9 years. But you know what? You can pronounce that yourself. Because people love to rip on me when I can't pronounce words the right way. Anyways, yeah. Love me some Kate Bush. And I can pronounce this one. Kate Bush, Sat in Your Lap. 2 nice picture sleeve finds from thrift stores, which doesn't happen a whole lot other than your top 40 hits of the day. Kate Bush wasn't really a top 40 artist in Canada, but Sat in Your Lap. The Clash. This is going into the much talked about legacy box that I have, London Calling. Canadian copy of London Calling, non-picture sleeve on the CBS label, or Epic label, I guess. What else we got? Tracy Thorn of Everything But the Girl. This is from like the early 80s, 1982. So I'm not sure if this is pre Everything But the Girl or around the same time. I know Everything But the Girl, they were around for a while before they had any big hits. But Tracy Thorn, what is this one? Plain Sailing and Goodbye Joe. What's this on? Cherry Red Records. The Beastie Boys, Fight for Your Right, but I didn't pick it up for Fight for Your Right Well, yes, I did for DJing. But I bought it for the B-side, Paul Revere. Paul Revere was one of the most revolutionary songs ever to use the 808 in its early days. In fact, there's a great documentary called 808. I think it's on the Amazon Prime app. At least it's in Canada. And I've probably watched it probably like a dozen times. The history of the 808 drum machine and how revolutionary Paul Revere was, how they took it and looped it and created something wholly different than what was going on at the time. Paul Revere, probably one of the most revolutionary kind of rap singles, especially using the 808 drum machine. So you know what? I'm going to call this Paul Revere because the A side I'll probably never, well, I'll probably play DJing. But Paul Revere is this one that's going to get a lot of play on my turntable. You know what? This is a promotional copy of something, I guess it's very early electronic music on the Vogue label. It's a band called Space, Running in the City. You can tell it's a DJ copy because it says, don't play the B-side. No play the B-side. Play the A-side. Promo single. At least it's promo stamped. And I don't know very much about Space, but I have done a little bit of investigating, and it's apparently kind of a very early, influential, maybe not influential, but very popular early electronic single. Well, I can't remember what year this is from now. It's real. Oh, 1978. It says right on 1978. You know what? This is kind of embarrassing the show, but you know I didn't have it. Paul McCartney, Wonderful Christmas Time, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Of course, it's going to be another, I don't know, 8 months before I get to play this single, because I'm not going to play it during non-Christmas. But Wonderful Christmas Time. An odd fact for you, and some of you might know this, and you're going to know the answer, because I showed you the single already. Paul McCartney makes more money off of Wonderful Christmas Time than any other single that he's ever released solo with the Beatles, etc., etc. He makes more money off Wonderful Christmas Time. And I read that fact over Christmas time. Because you wouldn't read that in the summertime, would you? But I thought that was really interesting. He makes more money off of Wonderful Christmas Time than any other single he's ever released. And you know what? I'll say that for another day. I have one new record that came in the mail yesterday, and I haven't had time to listen to it. Apparently, it's very good because obviously I've been watching James Bond films, which will trump a new album any day. But this came in the mail. I'm looking forward to playing it. It's the, I don't know if it's called the limited edition, but it's the deluxe, I don't know if it's even deluxe, but it comes with art prints. It's Rammstein. It's their new self-titled album. 2 albums, 180-gram vinyl, obviously. Actually, it's so heavy it feels like 200 gram. But it comes with art prints, which I don't even know why that's a bonus in albums anymore. It's not like I'm a teenage girl lusting after photos of Rammstein. But there's the inner sleeve of the gatefold. I've only heard one song off this album called Deutschland, and I liked it enough to pre-order the album. I have the Rammstein vinyl box set, which I'm very happy to own, but I don't like all the albums in there, so I've heard a lot of good things about this album, so I can't really report on it. But the new Rammstein self-titled album, deluxe, I'm calling it deluxe because it has art prints for whatever reason. Like when albums include posters. Anyways, Rammstein's new self-titled album. Maybe I'll, in my next video, I'll give a brief little thoughts on that album. Not that anyone cares what my thoughts are on the new Rammstein album. But anyways, you know what? It's Grail time. Grail time. I've talked about this album before in the past. And if you're expecting some rare Psych and Prague album, you're looking at the wrong video. There's many more other ones out there for that. Grail albums are all relative to that person. And you know what? I've talked about this before. You can have more than one Grail. Sometimes people will post, I found some Grails, and then some people inevitably in the comment section will beat them up over it. You can't have more than one Grail. Yes, you can. You're an individual. You can have 100 Grail items if you want. If you're just getting into vinyl, you got your first turntable. Any album that's a most wanted is a Grail. You can have 100 Grails. It's up to you. So don't let anyone tell you any different. Be yourself and be an individual. And have multiple Grails. Anyways, that notwithstanding, I think I made a video a couple years ago. I didn't do one this year. Maybe I should. Of my top 10 most wanted albums in 2018 maybe. and it was like the top 10 albums I was lusting after, and what I was going to try to do to get those albums, and I failed on about 3 or 4 of them, and this was one of them. I found this courtesy of a record store in town called RCP. My man Ty over there hooked me up. I got 2 great albums from him, actually. And for all my record shopping all over Europe, Canada, etc., etc., I've never even seen this album. And like I said, GRAIL's relative. You know what mine? You know what one of mine is? Because I'm a free thinker and I can have multiple GRAILs if I want. Midnight Oil, Earth, Sun, and Moon, sealed. I'm a massive Midnight Oil fan, and you know I've talked about this before. I'm a massive fan of Australian music in general, but this album has eluded me pretty much since 1993 when it came out. I didn't even know. See, here's this. This has a local record store sticker on it called Sound Connections. If you're from Edmonton, you might know Sound Connections, the now defunct record store. But I've never seen it on vinyl, in my hands, and then I find a sealed copy. Why this is a GRAIL for me? Oh, I love the album. I love Midnight Oil. I've loved them pre-Diesel and Dust, actually. But Diesel and Dust just kind of reinforced it, my love for Midnight Oil. But I considered Blue Sky Mining my favorite album by them. And then Earth, Sun, and Moon came out, and it didn't do a whole lot. I think it had high expectations, but I don't know. It didn't do a whole lot, like AKA like Blue Sky Mine and Diesel and Dust did. So it was kind of like almost my little secret, because I loved that album so much, and I played it to death. And then in 1993, what even more cemented it, I was front row at a tour that toured Canada called Another Roadside Attraction, which was headlined by the Tragically Hip. It was in a football stadium here, not our main football stadium that holds 60,000, but the one right beside it. If you're local, you'll know, called Clark Park. I don't know what that stadium held. It held quite a bit, but it was an all-day festival. It was, to my recollection, it was Tragically Hip headlining, and then Midnight Oil, and then was it Hothouse Flowers, Crash Vegas, Daniel Lanois, which was great to see Daniel Lanois play live. Anyways, I was front row for Midnight Oil, and it was just the most, man, it was one of the best shows I've seen them on this tour. And in fact, actually, in one of my other videos, I'm sure I'm wearing the tour t-shirt, which I don't know how I still fit into at my age. But anyways, I've kind of gone off the beaten path with talking about Earth, Sun, and Moon being a GRAIL. The song My Country is one of my favorite songs of all time. It's definitely in that top 30 singles of all time. In fact, if I'm not aware of it being on 7-inch, which I wish it was. I have the CD single for it. But Truganini was the first single. My Country, and I remember seeing them do both songs. I believe it was on Arsenio Hall, possibly. Maybe it's Tonight Show. One of those late night shows. Anyways, a sealed copy, which I have not opened yet. Should I open it for you guys? I think we will. I think we're going to open it for you guys. It's a UK. Is it UK pressing? I believe it is. 1993 UK pressing, which came in just taped sleeves when they were imported into Canada at the time. There it is. I just opened it. My first time looking at it. Lyrics. Some artwork. Yep, that's a sealed record from 1993. Perfect, brand new. So that's GRAIL time. GRAIL time. And I know, like I said, I know some people might be disappointed that it's not some rare psych thing or prog thing or some thing that's the flavor of the day in the vinyl community of something totally hip to find. But that's one of my GRAILs. Another one checked off the list. The list is getting shorter and shorter. I should make another video with what my next GRAIL item is. Or a couple GRAIL item finds I'm looking for. But you know what? I got this trip coming up, and then in the fall, I'm going to do my airplane again. I'm off to London, Brighton, and Berlin, and hopefully maybe Hamburg as well. to do some record shopping. So let's hopefully that pans out with a few other GRAIL items. But that's another edition of GRAIL Time. GRAIL Time. That's the best theme song I can come up with. All right, there's more records. I got another record with the Midnight Oil, which was I was looking for an early 70s pressing, but Ty hooked me up with a really nice condition copy of Miles Davis on the Corner. And how I know this album, oddly enough, is from the band The Melvins. The Melvins, you wouldn't think there's a tie-in between that, but I've seen so many interviews where the Melvins talk about Miles Davis on the Corner as being their favorite Miles Davis record and one of their favorite albums of all time. And I think 70s Miles Davis is incredibly underrated, especially on the Corner. Just funky jazz fusion. It's all over the place. In fact, I don't think Miles Davis plays trumpet a whole lot on this album. He plays other instruments. But if you're looking for a funky, just amazing fusion album from Miles Davis, or just in general on the Corner, I can't recommend it enough. Thanks for the hookup. I really appreciate it, Ty. And you know what? I'm just stoked. It was a great day for finds yesterday for Midnight Oil and Miles Davis on the Corner. This is like a, not an original pressing. This is like a, I think it came out, this is from 1972, but the record, I think this is like a 1974, 75 pressing, if I remember right. Anyways, Miles Davis on the Corner. In fact, there's a live album, I believe, from around this time. What's it called? Water Babies? Oh, no, not Water Babies. There's a live album anyways. No, Water Babies is a separate studio album, I believe. No, I'm getting things mixed up. There's a live album from around this era that I'm brain farting on, but someone will correct me, which is another great listen as well. So, two great finds in the same store. What we got now? We got some thrift store finds that I couldn't get to last video. Here's what we got here. Kim Mitchell. These are some bog standard finds for me, but maybe not for everyone. Kimbo Alago by Kim Mitchell. This is a good album. Yeah, if you see this album and you like rock, you like riffs, you like party rock, Kim Mitchell, he ex of Max Webster. Max Webster was a 70s band. They were on Rush's label, Anthem Records. They toured a lot with Rush in the early days. Even at opening up, even when Rush was an arena act, and then Kim Mitchell went on to be a solo act. A very successful solo act in Canada until he recorded that horrible Patio Lantern song. Canadians know what I'm talking about. But, you know, I think the song off here, Go for a Soda, I think that kind of made its way outside of Canada into the US and maybe Europe as well. But if you're looking for a rockin' song to investigate Kim Mitchell, go on YouTube and look at the song Lager and Ale. Man. Anyways, I love this album. And I've had this several times, and I keep on trading it or selling it. But like I always say, this one is for my collection. Kim Mitchell, Kimo Alago. A really nice condition copy. Nothing earth-shattering of Panorama. It's a punch copy, so I'm not sure if it was a delete copy or a promo copy. But I have all the Cars albums. Most of them I have the Mobile Fidelity pressings. I don't know if they did Panorama. I don't remember now. But I just buy these because these are great copies to flip or trade, or I know someone always wants Cars albums. I can't keep enough Blondie and Cars albums in my hands because they're gone. Helix, another Canadian band. This was their album after the album that had Rock You, Walking on a Razor's Edge. That's it. That had the song Rock You, which was a massive song worldwide in hard rock circles. Then they came out with Long Way to Heaven, which I guess was their slight attempt at being a little bit more commercial. And it's not a bad album. It doesn't go for a lot of money, but there's a lot of good songs on here. The Kids Are All Shaking was a single, and Deep Cuts the Knife. That's a damn good song off this album. There's a couple good tracks on this album, but unfortunately they had to try to make that commercial turn, and it didn't really work out for them. But their album after this one, which I've showed previously on one of my videos. Great album. Great return to form album. Red Rider, As Far As I Am. Another, what's with these Canadian albums? You know what? What I saw on a video not too long ago, not a vinyl video, but it was Howard Stern. I don't know why. This came up in my suggested feed video. But he was talking about Tom Cochrane and Red Rider and how this is a song on here called Lunatic Fringe, and that's one of his favorite songs of all time, is Lunatic Fringe. I thought it was weird, Howard Stern liking Red Rider. I think this is their first album. This is so bog standard to find here, but it's a great album. Lunatic Fringe, Cowboys in Hong Kong, those are radio staples to this day. Tom Cochrane and Red Rider, well, actually they were just called Red Rider back then. You're looking for some great Canadian rock. That's not Life is a Highway. If you guys know that song by Tom Cochrane. If I ever hear that song again, I'm going to just kill myself. I hate that song. If you want to investigate some good Tom Cochrane, look at this album, As Far As I Am, by Red Rider. What's this one? Oh, another copy of Famous Last Words by Supertramp. I find Supertramp albums, man, every week at thrift stores, and I'm not sure why people are just hell-bent on not treating, I guess I'm going in a direction I don't want to go into right now. I'm not going to say people who donate them underappreciate Supertramp, because if you donate an album, you donate an album, you just don't want your records. But generally speaking, when I go to record fairs, when I'm talking to friends about records, Supertramp is more of a kind of a joke thing. I'm not sure why. I think they're more highly regarded in Europe, and I know there's Supertramp fans where I live too. But they're not very highly collectible. But they're great albums. Famous Last Words by Supertramp is another one in the long line of great albums by Supertramp. I think people pigeonhole them because of Breakfast in America, and there's a Logical song and stuff like that. Which once again are radio staples, but I think people are kind of sick of them, of those songs off Breakfast in America. I'm not sure if that's the reason why. I don't know why, but they're highly underappreciated where I live. Alan Parsons, Vulture Culture. I can't remember this. I know the album. I've had it before, but I can't remember much about it. I will say that Alan Parsons' 80s output is very, like Supertramp, very highly underrated in my opinion. It's always worth listening to. It's always worth your time to listen to an Alan Parsons album. I've not heard his new album, but I will correct that on my trip on the airplane, listening to it on the airplane. But Vulture Culture by Alan Parsons Project. I'm going to share, someone out there who's watching this video is a fan of that album. Let me know in the comments section. This is a weird find. Don't know anything about it. Supercharge. It's on the look at this. It's the minute this is from a thrift store. The minute I see this Virgin label, AKA, once again, I said AKA once again. That's twice in this video. If I see this label, my favorite label, I'm gonna guess it's something good. And I haven't had time to listen, like I said, I haven't had a lot of time because of work and whatnot, but apparently this is a pretty decent jazz rock album by a band called Supercharge. And like I said, for nothing else, I'm keeping it for the record label. I love those Virgin record labels. Supercharge, if you know anything about this album, let me know. Feel free to comment. You can comment on my awesome theme song for Grail Time. A couple albums that all connect together. One is called Walk the West. They had one album, and I bought it because it looks vaguely kind of alt. It was kind of like a alt rock country sound in the 80s with Jason and the Scorchers. There's other bands like that. There's some bands from Athens, Georgia. Bands from Nashville, which I think these guys are from Nashville. They did one album. They were one and done, and I picked it up because it just looked interesting, something I might like, and it's a pretty decent album. They were compared to and on the same touring circuit as, like I said, Jason and the Scorchers where they were from the same city. Decent album. I thought it was a good blind buy for $1. I think I'll keep this one. Walk the West. Have a listen if you want something different. And oddly enough, it ties into the next couple albums, because in that same, they must have been the same guy who sold these ones, because there's Walk the West and the aforementioned, once I drop it, Jason and the Scorchers, Still Standing. They were very much akin to Walk the West, and I kind of like that. If it's done right, I really do like that country alt rock thing that was in the 80s. And it wasn't just an American thing. There's bands like The Alarm, and there were hints of it in some later works of Wall of Voodoo, stuff like that. But anyways, Jason the Scorcher still standing, decent little find. And then the Rainmakers, one of the most underappreciated bands in my opinion. A band that was never really popular in Canada. This is their second album, I believe, called Tornado. And what was it? Snake Dance was the single off this one. They got a lot of video play on our Snake Dance did on our video channel. But Rainmakers, their first two albums, I really do like a lot. Once again, if you like the Rainmakers, let me know. I don't know how many fans are out there, but like me some Rainmakers. I'm gonna have to hurry up here. A hip hop compilation called Word, and this is about what is this late '80s. Schoolie D, Houdini, Cool Mo D, DJ Jazzy Jeff, Steady B. Just amazingly great rap compilation from the late '80s. I really enjoyed this one. Little Feat, Dixie Chicken. I'm not a big Little Feat fan, to be honest with you. I haven't heard this album forever, 1973. I'll give this another listen. I'm trying to hurry up now because this is dragging on a bit because of Grail time, and just my yabbering. Anyways, Little Feat, Dixie Chicken. I'm going to give that another listen. Randy Newman, Good Old Boys. Not sure, I just picked it up because it was part of this haul at thrift store, but haven't listened to it. Not a big Randy Newman fan, but you know what? I haven't heard Randy Newman in years. Maybe my ears are a little bit more tuned into stuff like this, also like Richard Thompson. Across a crowded room. This must be mid '80s, judging by the photo with his rolled up blazer there. Anyways, Richard Thompson. I do like. Actually, you know, I do like Richard Thompson, and I like the works with him and his wife Linda. And I'll give this a listen. I'm not expecting much, but his mid '80s output, not really familiar with it. What else do I got? Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Watch is what it's called. Once again, I picked it up because it was part of the haul. I haven't heard this one. I don't mind me some Manfred Mann. There's some albums I don't mind by Manfred Mann. I don't know how noteworthy this is to talk about because I have not listened to it. I'll get to all this after I come back from my trip. But this has Quinn the Eskimo, The Mighty Quinn, written by Bob Dylan. So I'm not sure if this originally was on this album. But it has Chris Slade on drums. Chris Slade, who later on went on to be in The Firm with Jimmy Page and Tony Franklin. I like The Firm. I don't give a shit what you say. I like The Firm. And then he went on to be in AC/DC for a while. Anyways, Manfred Mann, I'll give that a listen. You know what? Like the Cars, Blondie. I mean, I have pristine copies of all the Blondie albums, but I tell you, when I find them, I pick them up, and then they're gone. I never find a lack of people wanting Blondie albums and Cars albums. And those two bands, I'm pretty convinced will live on well after I'm gone. When my son is my age, he'll have to go through my record collection and find Blondie and Cars albums, because I think they'll live on forever. And that's, I guess, just a case in point. Quality songs will live on. Patsy Cline, something different always. This is a compilation. I Fall to Pieces is on this album. Anyways, this is a keeper. I wanted one greatest hits by Patsy Cline in my collection, and this might be it. I'll have to play this one and go through it all. But by judging by the track listing, I mean, if the sound quality is good, I'll keep this one. But the track listing looks decent to me. It's a compilation. This is mid '80s. I mean, I guess mid '80s compilation of Patsy Cline called Always. And finally, because this video's dragging on, but you know what? Don't worry. I'm going to be on a plane somewhere. You won't have to deal with me for a while. Herbie Hancock's Death Wish soundtrack. Didn't Jimmy Page do Death Wish 2? I think he did. Or Death Wish 3. I'm not sure. I have it anyways. See, everything ties together. The Firm, Jimmy Page. It's the thinnest of the way things can tie together. So anyways, Herbie Hancock's Death Wish. I haven't heard this in a while. I'm going to have to give this another listen. But I recall not minding this album. But like I said, it was part of that haul, so I picked it up. So Herbie Hancock, Death Wish. I'll have to give that a listen. I'm very, very behind on listening to records. work is crazy, and apparently last night, you probably have all turned off the video by now, but for those of you who hung around, I was so exhausted from work, apparently I zonked out for 12 hours, which is the most unusual thing on earth for me. I get, because of my sleep patterns, I work overnights, I get 3 hours here and 4 hours here. I haven't had 12 hours straight sleep in I don't know how long, and I feel a little bit refreshed today, I can tell you that. Getting work out of my brain and get into travel mode. So I'm sure I'll have a video for you coming up of my next record trip here I'm doing tomorrow, and whatever else I'm doing. Thank you, everyone who's watching my videos. Whether you subscribe or not, I don't care. You can give me thumbs down. I don't give a shit. Thumbs down are good too. This is what people don't realize. When you thumbs down a video, I don't get many thumbs down, like 2 or 3 per video, but way more ups than, way more positive comments anyways. When you down a video, it's actually good because it shows YouTube engagement with your video. So it kind of, if people are engaging good for bad, it bumps you up in the hierarchy of algorithms, apparently, as it's been explained to me. That's what I hear anyways. So you know what? Whether you give thumbs up, thumbs down, whether you subscribe or not, don't matter to me. I hope you enjoyed the videos anyways. And I thank you if you do subscribe and you do interact with me and comment. I will try to get back to everyone when I can. So anyways, this is David Michael, aka Nazz Nomad. I'll see you after my trip. Take care, everyone. I wish you well.